Okay, so Unigine just got done running. I actually went and took a shower. And at 1200 cores and 1375 memory, it got an average of 97 FPS. Scored 2444, and now we're just gonna keep increasing the core clock by 25. You're supposed to do it by 5, but it takes way too long. So let's say if I get to 25 and it crashes, so now I know that's like the cap or the limit, and now I decrease by 5 every time. So let's try 1225 and see what's up. Also, please note the temperature was 72 Celsius at that clock speed at 1175 millivolts as well. So that's 1.175 volts, as you can see here. Yeah, so let's test and see what's the difference between 25 core clock and okay. As you can see, the card crashed at 1225 at what do you call it? 1175 millivolts. It crashed. So, comparing to the non-overclocked edition, you will save $50. Do not spend more. Do not spend $50 more on the overclocked version, because you can just manually overclock it yourself and get roughly the same results from the overclocked settings. I'm gonna find but yeah, it's don't buy the overclocked edition ever unless it has more like VRAM or better cooling. I know the MSI Lightning have better cooling, so buy those and they look better. Otherwise, now I'm just gonna run a 3D Mark Advantage and 3D Mark 11 at 1200. Actually, I'm gonna run another test of Unigine, this time increasing the memory clock as well. I'm gonna do 1600 memory clock. Okay, so as you can see the screen, this one is the one with the 1600 megahertz memory. Keep in mind that the voltages between the memory and vCore are separate. You change them both here. They're both at stock at the moment, so 1600, so 1.5 volts for the memory, and 1.175 for the core voltage. So they are separate. By increasing the memory, you can see that it increases average FPS roughly 3 FPS. So that's extremely well. I'm gonna keep increasing the memory and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Okay, so I tried to overclock it to 1700 megahertz mem clock, and it failed. It crashed about 3/4 ways in, and it just it was horrible. Yeah, comparing that to the non-overclock edition, definitely get the non-overclock. You could get the same, potentially get the same speed or max overclock as the overclocked edition. Yeah, I think it's just pretty much a scam for the overclocked edition. Oh, hey, a little bit faster, but it's whatever. If it's, again, if you only get like the Twin Frozen edition or Lightning, which has, better cooling. So I ran a stock settings. At stock settings, it got 85 frames per second on average. Comparing to the 1200 by 1600, it was around like a 15 FPS average increase in scores as well. So I definitely would recommend overclocking if it's stable enough. Just find that sweet spot. Stable enough. Just run it games when you overclock it, and run it at normal when you're just browsing or whatever. Don't need that power. Your enemy here is again heat. Running at reference, cooler design, it's gonna be burning out. So make sure you get an aftermarket heatsink. I'll be putting up a video on how to install an aftermarket heatsink on these video cards as well. Okay, so at stock settings, the max temp was 67 Celsius, comparing to the 72 that we saw. So only 5% Celsius increase, which isn't much, but it's still an increase, and it's still, you know, your enemy. So make sure you get an aftermarket heatsink. Yeah. So now I'm just gonna run 3D Mark Vantage at maxed out settings, which is 1200 by 1600, and also 3D Mark 11, and see what the scores are. I'll run it at stock settings, and then I'm gonna run it at what do you call it? Overclocked, and so you guys can compare that later on. Okay. Okay, so the tests are finished for overclocked and stock settings. Over to the left is the overclocked settings, and you can clearly see the difference is about 4,000 score difference, and also 5,000 in the GPU score. As far as FPS goes, you see for the first test you see about 15 FPS increase, so that's significant boost for just overclocking, you know, squeezing everything out. Second test you see about, again, 15, so it's very consistent, and the rest we can definitely see increases as well. As far as this one goes, 150 to 135, yeah, it's pretty significant for a stable overclock. Okay, next up we have, let's do the performance, overclocked, and stock settings. So you can see about a 1200 score increase over the stock settings. As far as FPS goes, 6 FPS, yeah, about 6-7 FPS overall, 8 over here, increase of 8, so we could clearly see an increase. And you know, at the same time, if your overclock is stable, and if you don't mind using a little bit more heat, because remember, when you're overclocking your core clock, it's the power that you're using, it's linear, so it's not, but when you increase the voltages, it's going to be exponential. The more voltage you use, the more exponentially power you're going to use. But if you're just going to increase the core clock, it's linear, so you are spending more money, more money to you know, to have more frames. So it's not that much, but still, just want to keep that in mind. And also, remember, your enemy here is heat. Let's move on to the extreme overclocked on the right. I'm sorry, left, and then stock settings on the right. So you can see a 400x difference. See increase in 2 FPS, 3-ish. The extreme testing, it's 1080p. It's the most stressful test right now as far as 3D Mark goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And to finalize this, I would not recommend buying any overclocked any overclocked edition of this card. Just buy the normal one. You'll get the same overclock potential. My Asus, if I could find the screenshot, I was able to, you know, get what was it, 1250 core and 1700 memory, and I got it for $50 less. So you should buy the non-overclocked version. Don't buy the overclocked. Yeah, as always, if you like our videos, please like, favorite, and comment our video, and also subscribe to our channel, and also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and have a nice day.